So love and action. It's a big part of why I became a Unitarian Universalist minister. When I went to seminary, a lot of my colleagues had a deep and abiding love and a deep and abiding service. But sometimes they said, Julie, I can't preach that at my congregation. Julie, I can't go to that event. I can't support gay people. I can't support transgender people. And what I heard, luckily, from some other colleagues and from myself is, why not? Why not? And I think that is the question that we, as a people in a society that are constantly being bombarded with the shoulds, or the you're in this club and you're not in this club, you're going to hell because of this identity, or you're not enough because of who you are or your profession or how you dress. Why? Asking those questions is so very important. I feel like we are the anti-bullying congregation. I've been to a lot of anti-bullying seminars when I had concerns about this as a minister of youth, and also just seeing it in the schools. And it takes one person to shift a narrative, to change the tone in the room, to make a difference. And I think about that here. I know there are people who have arrived at this space broken and crying and a mess, a broken mess. And we said, you are not broken. You are whole and loved, and in whatever ways, and unwinding from fundamentalist religion, maybe that told them that they were not enough, or who they loved was not okay, or whatever messages of hate got embedded down in their sad hearts, and the hurt that comes from being told that. And the space that we provide here for recovery, the space that we provide here to make mistakes. I mean, how many times have I gotten up here and I think once during a service, I did a whole part of the service wrong. And you guys just sit there with me, and then afterward, and y'all were so nice. And, none of us are perfect. And when we think about answering the call of love, like in Jason Shelton's song, what does that mean to us? What does that mean in a world that has so much news and so much that is heavy and hard? And I think about wanting to be the best person I can be, wanting to make a difference in the world. And I think about that thing that we've talked about today that's so hard to talk about, and money. How do we talk about money in a way that is powerful and liberating, and not from a basis of shame? How do we talk about money as energy that we can work into our lives? And I know with couples, man, that can be one of the biggest sources of conflict. It can be a source of conflict within ourselves. Do we take the job that we hate that pays more money? Do we take the job because we have to pay the money? And money is just always kind of that, people have called it the root of all evil. Well, yes, it can be. But I think it can also be energy. And I know during the pandemic, when I was at home and looking at all the stuff I had in my house that I hadn't had time to do, not that I was pretty darn busy during the pandemic, but time moved differently, right? I wasn't driving to meetings. And so we bought bread makers and made bread. We had puzzles, and we decided maybe we didn't need a fancy car, but maybe we needed to take singing lessons. And I think a lot of people thought about their lives and what was important. We've seen that in this congregation. Some people have like, man, I missed choir so much. Laurel, let's sing. And, every time the choir comes, it's packed, and we're just so grateful to be able to sing together again and music. And I know for me, I'm just so grateful to hang out with the youth again, but not online. That it's really hard to make a connection with people online sometimes. And so when we think about this congregation, I met with our UUA congregational life consultant, Sharon Dittmar. Will Taylor is the president of our congregation. He and I met with her, and we talked about, how is UUC doing? How are we doing compared to congregations of like size? And I just want to tell you that about 50% of UU congregations across the nation had their religious exploration programs implode. They fell apart during the pandemic, and they are trying to piece together things. And she looked at our numbers, and she said, holy cats, you guys have, your program not only survived, but it thrived. And not everybody got engaged with online RE, but a lot of people did. And we had drive-by things and kits, and this whole congregation, if we hadn't learned that we were flexible, resilient, and awesome, the pandemic taught us that love got us through. And now what's the future? We've had a strategic planning. We've talked about wanting to increase the RE program, wanting to make sure our building is supported into the future. And to do that, it does take money. And that's, it's not easy. Here I am, a staff person, said, hey, let's pledge, But I have to tell you, I'm also a member. I joined this congregation when I became a minister here because I believe in it. I have dedicated my life for 12 years to this space, to this love, to this saving place that does not tell people that they are not worthy. It tells people that they're worthy. It tells people that there is more that we can do in the world. And it answers the call of love by asking, why not? Why not? So when she looked at our congregation, she's like, wow, you guys are doing so much. She said, but your staffing is low compared to other congregations your size. Your budget is low for congregations your size. And we recently had our building campaign, and man, people were like, yes, I'm going to pledge to that. We got that window done, in a day? I don't know. We got doors done. We got the tech upgrades funded. It's really easy sometimes to support things that are very tangible, right? Because you're like, oh, yes. Like I heard somebody say that I want to support the music program. But the hard part is that ongoing thing. I'm going to pledge because we have light bills. I'm going to pledge because we want to keep the doors open. And so that's the harder thing. And so as much as I hate to talk about money, that's part of life. And I've really tried to work on my own relationship with money. And so when Carl and I sat down and I said, hey, Carl, there's been inflation. What do we want to pledge? What can we pledge? And, if you'd asked us 5 years ago, we couldn't do what we can do now. But luckily, we were in a space to be able to raise our pledge. And so we have. And we thought about inflation. And we thought about the fact that this congregation has raised my beautiful children, and I'm not going to cry, and welcomed them as whole and beautiful people. And you guys have walked with me as I've grown as a minister, and I still have so much work to do. There's things that I don't do well, and there's things that I do. And yet we keep trying because we know that we are all works in progress. And I want to be a part of a community that it's okay to be vulnerable. it's okay to say that I'm not, that you're not okay, or that you are okay, or that you're joyful, and that I can marry people who love each other, not because of some doctrine or some bull poop, excuse me, that was handed down by some dude in a different country. And anyway, I'm going off track here. Love in action is something that I think that we all care about. And, when you think about the lasting legacy of love of this community, Virginia was minister for many years. She's been a member for many years. And I think about the legacy that started with the founding of this congregation around the values of free thought, raising children with love. What is going to be our legacy of love into the future? And I hope that we're here for many years to come. So thank you for letting me be your minister. Thank you for supporting the staff, the work, and all the things that we dream about. Every time I talk to Ken, he's like, hey, Julie, I have this idea. We should do a foodie fest, or we should do this thing. And what's really cool is that we try and find ways to make those things happen, because they make a difference. So thank you.